Burgos, the region just as it was. Episode 1. Spring. In southern Europe, in the north of Spain, there's a place where travelling through time is possible. We invite you on a surprising nature tour, a trip around Burgos to evoke the essence of the different periods that have left their mark on its landscape and inhabitants, full of references to coexistence between man and environment. A land where the past is still alive. The province of Burgos, located in the northeast of the Castile and Leon region, covers 14,300 square kilometers, featuring notable scenic diversity among its hidden spots. Spring shows itself in different ways. On lower ground, flowering takes place early, while on higher ground, where the cold still bites, the plants seem to wait a little longer. Even the deciduous trees seem to find it hard to come out of their winter sleep. Very slowly, the plants begin their strategy to attract insects to pollinate them, something they've been doing for more than 50 million years. The different types of flowers characteristic of each species gradually appear in the countryside. However, there's a place in the north of Burgos where spring seems to take over a single tree. At the beginning of April, the Cadorechas Valley becomes immersed in a euphoric frenzy. The cherry tree, which originated in Asia, was brought by the Romans 2,000 years ago. Since then, every spring it flowers in a spectacular ephemeral way. In just 10 days, the flower will completely disappear until the following year. In Cadorechas Valley, no transgenic trees are cultivated and no weed killers or chemical fertilizers are used. Refuges for insect-eating birds and bats are placed in all plantations to fight plagues in an entirely ecological way. Cherry trees are looked after here in the same way as centuries ago. Another natural product is also made in the same way as hundreds of years ago. It looks gloomy, but provides comfort for the inhabitants of small villages. In the province of Burgos, charcoal is still made in the traditional way. An oven made of trunks piled up on top of each other and covered with plant matter and soil is kept burning with firewood for around 20 days. The opening of the oven is always covered after adding more firewood. This traditional process, which has almost become extinct in Europe, is one of the main attractions for pilgrims travelling along the San Olav route. The reason why this route bears the name of a Nordic saint lies in a passionate romance that took place in the 13th century. The daughter of King Haakon IV of Norway married Alfonso X, the wise brother. When she died, her husband promised to build a chapel in her honour, but was unable to fulfill this offering. Almost 800 years later, the villages in the surrounding area decided to fulfill his promise and in the 21st century built the chapel. The aforementioned route links this new construction with Burgos Cathedral. The trekking of hikers is accompanied by the oldest music in the world. But not all males seduce females with singing. The province's steppes, which appear to extend endlessly into the horizon, are inhabited by the world's heaviest flying bird, the great bustard. Courtship takes place in early April, and the males attract females by displaying their well-built bodies and exhibiting their plumage in a unique way in the animal kingdom. This impressive gallantry is called lekking. A female is near a group of males. One of them approaches her in an arrogant fashion. He puffs himself up with pride and vanity. The female studies him. The male's vigour and healthy look seems to convince her. She has to look out for her offspring's genes. Looking at the male, she imagines her young ones. The male becomes so excited that he begins to harass the female. And he loses her, for the moment. The steps are at their best. In some places, such as the everlasting Páramo de Masa, you can see the desolate, harsh appearance of the earliest step. The inhospitable landscapes and cereal fields feature not only native fauna, but also other protagonists, full of determination and enthusiasm. They are pilgrims travelling along the way of St. James. Adventurous travellers from all over the world walk towards the Spanish city of Santiago de Compostela, passing through the Burgos region. The origins of this ancient worship of St. James go back to the Dark Ages. The first references date from the 9th century. Since then, millions of travellers have walked through this region. The walkers are escorted by an abundance of varied architectural heritage, with numerous examples from the different historical periods throughout the province. The 10th century monastery of San Pedro de Arlanza is one of them. It was in use for almost 1,000 years. Spring also sprouts on the rooftops. This is the lesser kestrel's home, and in it the female puts her partner to test every year. Her message is clear. If you want to copulate with me, prove your faithfulness and hunting skills. The striking scene is observed with great interest by birdwatching tourists. Right beside them, some neighbours have made more progress. She breaks the good news. The miracle has happened, and they celebrate. Life-giving downpours soak the countryside. These are moments of euphoria in the water, which is inhabited by a genuine living fossil in danger of extinction, the crayfish. Other beings also move around in these watercourses. The middle stretches of the Duero, Ebro and Arlanza rivers are ideal for canoeing. But not all the water is to be found in rivers and pools. These are Burgos' 10th century necropolises, which form part of the largest series of medieval chapels and cemeteries in all Europe. Hundreds of tombs carved in stone which have shaped this region's legendary identity. And in the riverside forests every May it snows. The seeds of popular trees covered in light spongy threads are to be found everywhere. In the emerald sea, scarlet-coloured eyes scan the sky. For the black-winged kite is also spring. But the period of courtship is not so pleasant and simple for everyone. The little bustard has to duel with other males to defend its territory. The loser, unhappy with the outcome, is now trying to steal another male's female, and once again, another scuffle. When there are no more rivals to keep down, the little bustard stages its own particular courtship. He's a lot smaller than the great bustard, and therefore has to jump to be seen. And strangely enough, this choreography works. But wildlife is not always so pleasant. The most primitive laws are still in force. The rising temperature tinges the countryside with new shades. The pace of life will be just as active, but with new revelations from both modern and distant times. Summer arrives to share its intimate secrets, which will be revealed in our next episode.